Hello, welcome back to Warhammer 40k. Today we're going to be talking about the Nephrekh Dynasty. We're going to be going through the unique items that are available to this dynasty. Then we're going to be going through my personal top 3 units when playing this actual dynasty code. There will be an honourable mention, of course, from one of our YouTube paid members, so stick around to find out what they have put. So without further ado, let's get on with the actual Nephrekh Dynasty, and they've of course got the Translocation Beams Dynasty code. So all models within this code are going to have a 6+ invulnerable save. Furthermore, each time they make an advanced move, they can instead translocate, and if it does, you don't make an advanced move, you simply add 6 inches to the move characteristics of the models in the unit, then until the end of the turn, that model cannot shoot. Now each time a unit within this code falls back or translocates, until the end of the phase, models in the unit can move across models and terrain as if they were not there. And then finally, if the protocol of Sudden Storm is active and you're using the Nephrekh Dynasty, you're going to be gaining both the directives for that command protocol as opposed to just the one. So the protocol of Sudden Storm, if you're not aware of what that is, directive 1, you're adding 1 inch to the movement characteristics of all models in the units. So you're going to have a pretty nifty army, especially if this is your permanent protocol throughout the game. Don't forget this can also stack with the Relentless March aura that you get from quite a lot of your character models, so you can essentially get 2 inches to all your models that are core. Now directive 2, if the unit is performing an action, it can still make attacks with the ranged weapons without the action actually failing. Now directive 2 in particular is a pretty good one, especially if you're looking at your secondary objectives, looking at ancient machineries, raise the banners, R&D, then you're likely going to be selecting one of those shadow operation secondary objectives that require your models to do an action. So let's get on to some of the more unique options for the Nephrekh Dynasty. So first of all, their warlord trait is Skin of Living Gold. So when an attack is made against your warlord, you subtract 1 from the attack's hit rolls. Would I pay a command point to take this? Probably not if I'm honest with you, but if you wanted that resiliency, you do have it there. Now as for the stratagem associated with this dynasty code, it's called the Translocation Crypt. It's 1 command point, and it's not too bad to be honest with you. So it's a pre-game stratagem. When you're declaring your reserves and transports, you select 1 Nephrekh unit, excluding vehicles and monsters, and that unit gains the dimensional translocation ability, which is effectively deep strike if you're not familiar with what that is. Now you can use this multiple times before the game. It's only when you're in the actual turns itself where you're restricted to using the same stratagem only the once, but pre-game you can use it as many times as you would like. The only problem here is of course it costs you 1 command point every time you do so, and with this Nephilim chapter approved book, we're starting off with less command points than we previously did. This is why, in my opinion, the Nephrekh Dynasty has kind of gone a little bit downhill again. It was on the way up for me. I did actually start playing it for a bit, just at the end of the Nuckman book. But when you're starting off with 6 command points or 3 command points in the incursion games, this can get a little bit expensive pre-game, especially when now you've got to pay for warlord traits and relics. So speaking of relics, they've got the Solar Staff relic, and it's going to be replacing a Staff of Light. So there's a few models that are equipped with Staff of Light, so this is going to be eligible to quite a few of your characters there. So what is the Solar Staff? So it's both a shooting and a melee weapon, of course, because it's a staff. In terms of the shooting capabilities, 24 inch range, assault 6, strength 5, -2 AP and 1 damage. So when you compare that to the standard Staff of Light, that's only 18 inch range, assault 3, but it's still strength 5, -2 AP, 1 damage. So you get a bit of extra range, and you also get 3 additional shots, but you also get an ability attached to the weapon itself. So each time an attack is made with the weapon against an infantry unit, if a hit is scored, which you should be hitting with 6 shots, then until the end of the turn, the unit is blinded. Blinded units cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend. So in terms of the Overwatch capabilities, maybe you're looking at Tau or just generic shooter units within the 40k game. And as for set to defend, they usually are within a terrain feature in order to use set to defend unless you're going up against Necrons, and they've got the command protocol of Eternal Guardian active, and they've selected directive 2 and then selected set to defend. So those kind of things are quite rare. They don't happen that often in the game, and you've also got to actually pick this relic to begin with as well. But there is a melee side to it as well, which is virtually the same thing, strength 5, -2 AP, 1 damage, and if a hit is scored, then until the end of turn, they cannot fight Overwatch or set to defend. Now I probably wouldn't spend a command point in this relic either, but there are situations and certain factions when you go up against them that this relic could be actually quite useful with. So that's the unique stuff out the way. Let's get on to my top 3 Nephrekh units. So when you see a Nephrekh army on the battlefield, these are the kind of units to expect. They're either going to be units that require an in-run save, such as your Scorbit Destroyers, Ophidian Destroyers, your Lychguard with the War Scythes, maybe even your larger units such as Necron Warriors and Flayed Ones, and the Scarabs too I guess. Now I've put Wraiths in this photo here because Wraiths used to be really prominent in this actual dynasty, not so much now because they've already got their own Wraith form ability, but the auto 6 inches to the advanced move is actually quite nice on a fast unit. So I've still put them on the screen, but let's get on to my actual top 3. So in at number 3, I've gone with Necron Warriors. Now Necron Warriors within this dynasty are going to work pretty good because they don't have an invuln save, of course. So having a 6+ invulnerable save could be pretty good. So I've come up in recent games against, for example, Eldari, where they're shrieking weapons, auto wound on 6s, and they become -3 AP as well, which literally just slices straight through our Necron Warrior. So they've only got a hit on a 6 and Necron Warrior is dead. So having an invuln save would have at least stopped that from happening. And there's lots of other -3 AP weapons out there that are going to go through a 4+ armor save. So just having that 6+ invulnerable save keeps your Necron Warrior blob up and running, so that yeah, you can use your reanimation protocols much more effectively, and maybe even a resurrection orb as well. Now, as mentioned already in the intro, you can stack Directive 1 from the Protocol of Sudden Storm with the Relentless March aura from, say, a Necron Overlord, a Royal Warden, those kind of character models that have the Relentless March aura. So your Necron Warriors can pretty much be moving 7 inches every single turn, providing that you've got this command protocol as your permanent all-game round protocol. Now Directive 2 is also pretty decent with the Necron Warriors because they definitely want to be shooting their Ghost Reapers or Ghost Flayers, but still being able to do the action, again, such as raise the banners, ancient machineries, R&D, just to name a few of them. You want to be doing the actions to score your secondary objectives, but you definitely don't want to be foregoing your actual shooting attacks. So I think the Protocol of Sunstorm in general is a pretty good command protocol to have, especially on your Necron Warriors. Now using that stratagem, Translocation Crypt could be pretty good for your Necron Warriors, in fact. Could save you from having to use a Veil of Darkness relic, pop them straight into Deep Strike, bring them out, turn 2 onwards, more than 9 inches away from enemy models. So if you've got your Strength 5 Ghost Reapers, and you've got 20 warriors in this unit that have got those, that's going to be 40 shots. And if you're going up against Toughness 4, just under 27 hits, causing around 17 to 18 wounds. That's without any buffs, any bonuses. And if you're going up against Toughness 5, the same amount of hits, doing just over 13 wounds on average. So yeah, you're pretty much doing a lot of damage to other infantry models, and you can even go further than that and take out vehicles and stuff as well. Now what you want to be doing with Necron Warriors, of course, is using the Might Will Be Done ability from a Necron Overlord, a Command Barge, maybe even the Silent King if you've got the Silent King nearby as well. You definitely want to be hitting on a 2+ as opposed to a 3, or you want to be using a Royal Warden to be able to get these guys out of dodge, falling back and still firing those Ghost Reapers, or even making a new charge. So that's my number 3. Let's get on to my number 2 option, which I've gone with the Flayed Ones. Now Flayed Ones are pretty good in the Nephrekh Dynasty, but they're also pretty decent in this dynasty too, because they got that 6+ invulnerable save again, as mentioned with the Warriors already, because Flayed Ones are quite killable. They've in fact got the same armor save as a Necron Warrior, except they're not going to be re-rolling ones for their reanimation protocol, so they're going to go down a lot quicker, but that's why they're cheaper. Now they can take advantage of that translocation ability, auto advancing 6 inches, going through models, going through terrain features. Now bear in mind that these guys don't have any ranged attacks, so if you know they're not going to be making a charge, you may as well just make the advanced roll, get some more ground, spread these guys out, or just get them onto an objective. Again, don't forget the Command Protocol of Sunstorm to add one to their movement characteristics as well. So in fact, when you combine that with the translocation ability, these Flayed Ones can actually be moving 12 inches. 5 inches as standard, 1 for the Protocol of Sunstorm, and then that 6-inch translocation advance move. Now of course they won't be able to charge because they have advanced, but you're getting them in to the right location there. Now with their Flare Claws, Strength users, which is Strength 4, -1 AP, 1 damage, any 6s to hit on a non-vehicle model will give you an additional hit. So when you've got 20 of those, that's going to be a ton of attacks. And again, you can buff those attacks with an Overlord model. Might Will Be Done, +1 to hit, hitting on the 2+. Now you can save yourself a command point here by not using the Translocation Crypt ability on these guys, because they already come with the Dimensional Translocation ability as standard. So you don't need to worry too much about that. And another little trick to add, you can actually put a Veil of Darkness relic on a Necron Overlord, and you can use the Veil of Darkness relic on a Canoptek Reanimator, because that's got the core keyword, and you can take your Overlord as well as the Reanimator over to your newly placed Flayed Ones that have deep struck into enemy backlines. Now all of a sudden you've got your Flayed Ones in there, you've got an Overlord with maybe a Resurrection Orb, your Canoptek Reanimator, which means you can reanimate on a 4+ as opposed to a 5+. It's a nice little combination to keep models up and running in your enemy backlines. Now don't forget their stratagems, Storm of Flensing Blades for 2 command points to simply fight again with your Flayed Ones, and Disruption Fields for a command point to add 1 to the strength characteristics of models in that unit. So there'll be strength 5 with those Flare Claws as opposed to 4. Okay, now we're on to the members' honourable mention, and today's member is going to be Rare Rush. So today's selection for Rare Rush is going to be the Lychguard, and here's why. So if you're taking the war size on your Lychguard, of course they're not going to have an invuln save because they've not got that dispersion shield, but having a 6+ invulnerable save gives them a little bit of survivability when going slicing and dicing. Now also having the sword and shield options and advancing these guys to a corner or behind enemy lines to gain points can be pretty big, especially if you've got the Protocol of Sunstorm active again for that +1 to the movement, maybe the Relentless March Aura as well for another +1 to the movement, or you can just simply use the stratagem to just deep strike them into a location if needed. Now the combination he's actually given to me is the fact that you can take, say for example, a Technomancer, give the Technomancer the Dimensional Sanctum Cryptek Arcana so that Technomancer can actually be deep striking in alongside the Lychguard that have used that stratagem. Then you've still got that Veil of Darkness rate that you can give to a completely different unit and a completely different character within your list. So now effectively you've got 2 completely different units, as well as character models buffing those units, pincering enemy backlines. So you've got Lychguard and a Technomancer on one side, then maybe you've got a Chronomancer and a Scorpic Destroyer unit on another side, pincering the attack, following it up with another wave in the centre, and you can really hold down your opponent there just by simply using our speed and stratagem shenanigans. So that's Rare Rush's selection today. Let's get on to my number 1, and I've gone with the Canoptek Scarabs. So of course they're going to really benefit with that 6+ invulnerable save. Considering that they've already got 4 wounds, it's going to keep them up and running a little bit better, because let's face it, they can go down to a stiff breeze once they are actually targeted. Now they do have a 6+ armor save, but any AP weapons just simply don't give them a save. So having that 6+ invulnerable save virtually guarantees that you at least get to roll some dice. Now also you quite often advance with your Canoptek Scarabs because they're not going to be doing much, they're not doing any range attacks of course, and even in melee they're not doing massive amounts of damage. They're mainly there to be stealing primary objectives, so you want to be using them to advance, and in this case translocating that 6 inches, so you're getting 16 inches once you've added that to the actual movement that the Canoptek Scarabs have, which is 10, and again that Command Protocol of Sunstorm for the extra inch, so you're now talking about 17 inches for a single unit. I mean they've got the fly keyword as well, but they don't really need it. You can translocate through models, you can translocate through terrain, but 17 inches is pretty nifty to get a unit that can either block up an avenue or just tie up an enemy unit, bog them down. You're not going to be able to make the charge, but you're going to keep them back into a specific area. So that's my top 3 today guys. Like and subscribe if you're finding these videos useful. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.